the first Friday in September, and you've made it to this another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. We have interesting features lined up for you, so don't move a muscle. I'll be right back.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport, and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Friday, September 4. The Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party has retained and increased its majority in Parliament after yesterday's general election. Preliminary results show that the JLP has won 49 seats, while the People's National Party, led by Dr. Peter Phillips, won 14 seats. This is the 18th general election to be held in the country since universal adult suffrage in 1944. Voting began at 7 a.m. and the polls closed at 5 p.m. The Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOJ, says approximately 37% of eligible voters cast their ballot, compared to 48.37% in the 2016 general election. After last night's preliminary results, EOJ returning officers today commenced the final count of all ballots for their constituencies at a designated counting center. In his victory speech at the JLP's headquarters on Belmont Road, Mr. Holness said his administration would pay great consideration to the expectations of all Jamaicans and not just to those who supported the party. And acknowledging that the election took place in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Prime Minister said government would continue working to keep everyone safe. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and Wellness last night reported that the country had lost another 2 individuals to COVID-19 and recorded an additional 74 new cases. The 2 latest COVID-19 related deaths are of an 81-year-old female from St. Anne and a 35-year-old male from Manchester. There are now 29 COVID-19 related deaths in Jamaica. The island has also recorded 1 additional case of a coincidental death of a person confirmed with the virus, a 56-year-old male from Clarendon. Of the 74 new cases, 25 were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, 21 in St. Elizabeth, 14 in St. Catherine, 6 in Manchester, 5 in St. Thomas, and 1 each in St. Anne, St. James, and Westmoreland. They bring the country's total number of COVID-19 cases to 2,896. There are currently 1,873 active cases being monitored, while recoveries are now up to 921. 30 medium-sized companies will be able to access a maximum of 14 million Jamaican dollars to introduce or expand innovative processes, products, and/or services. This is being done under a $2.6 million Innovation Grant Fund. The fund, which began operations on September 1, is being implemented by the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ. It is the first of 6 new products being launched by the DBJ and falls under the Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems (BIGI) program. This 10-year, $50 million program is funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB. At the signing of the financing agreement in March, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke said the program was intended to fill gaps within Jamaica's entrepreneurial ecosystem while strengthening the existing framework.
The objectives of the first operation will be to promote innovation and productivity among established MSMEs with high growth potential, and to promote sustainable growth in scalable startups, and to create a sustainable pipeline of high-growth potential startups.
Qualified entities for the Innovation Grant Fund must be registered for a minimum of 7 years, generating annual earnings of between $75 and $150 million, and have a board of directors in place. Entities must log on to the project website, thinkbiggie.com, to complete the application form. Evaluations will be undertaken at the end of September or each month depending on the number of applications that meet the criteria, until the 30 entities being targeted for support are identified.
We welcome BIGI as a continuation of much of the work that we have been providing for the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises ever since we made the strategic decision to focus on MSMEs.
Minister of Sport Olivia Grange says the 12 clubs in the Football Premier League are now benefiting from grants in keeping with government's commitment to provide support for sport practitioners affected by the COVID-19 crisis. Through the Sports Development Foundation, a one-time grant of $500,000 is now being dispersed to each of the Premier League clubs. It's to provide assistance to the players and staff and offset administrative costs. Minister Grange says this is being done alongside the establishment of the Athlete Registry to ensure that the funding is administered in a streamlined manner.
Those funds will be sent directly to the clubs. But in addition to that, we're inviting athletes to register on the A registry so that they will be in a position to access the funds.
The minister says the Premier League Clubs Association itself will also receive a grant of $500,000 towards its administrative expenses. Further details on the application process for other athletes will be published on the ministry's website at mcges.gov.jm. And finally, Chairman of the Jamaica Cooperative Automobile and Limousine Tours, Brian Thelwell, is assuring that tour bus drivers in the tourism sector are making an effort to remain COVID-19 compliant. He says the buses are equipped with sanitizers, and once passengers come out of the vehicle, all handles and other surfaces are sanitized to ensure the safety of passengers. In addition, he points out that operators have to adhere to the stipulations in the COVID Resilient Certification for Transport, which limits where tour bus drivers can take guests.
The hotels to which we are attached has definitely laid out they cannot leave the hotel to any place outside of the corridor that is not COVID resilient. If they do so, it is to their own peril, which would simply mean at this time those parking privileges would be withdrawn should they breach the rule at this point. So everybody is on board.
Mr. Thelwell was addressing a think tank held at the JIS's Montego Bay regional office on Monday. He was among a group of tourism stakeholders who addressed the think tank to give an update on the level of compliance within the sector and the work of the COVID-19 Resilient Corridors Committee. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The wearing of masks in public places is still mandatory for all persons. Just this week, 10 persons were arrested in Halfway Tree for breaching the Disaster Risk Management Act because they were not wearing a mask. This is all for our safety, and there is no reason for any of us not to comply, especially when government is ensuring the supply of masks while giving jobs to unattached youth.
I graduate from Hope and Fashion Design Level 2. I'm currently studying Fashion Design in Level 3 at the moment. The course was about to finish March 31st, and it was put out because of the coronavirus. So now I'm here making masks. I'm here day on almost every single day trying to make a mask, at least 100 masks to supply. So each day I'm here working.
When COVID started and when the outbreak started in Jamaica, we realized that we had no choice but to shut down all training, and especially by what we did at Hope. So we had community-based training, we had institutional-based training like you see here at this Heart Academy. When we realized what was happening with COVID and the need for wearing masks by the general public, we decided to recall some of these youngsters who had then been at home for a a few weeks, not earning a stipend, not doing anything. So we recalled them and we put systems in place here, very, very strict controls to maintain this sterile environment, the sanitizing processes, and at the same time to have them making these masks.
Making these masks, these HOPE program masks, these can basically benefit Jamaica by preventing the spreading of coronavirus. And I live by the philosophy where there is hope, there is life.
The Heart Trust Garmex Academy on Marcus Garvey Drive has become a tenacious player in the island's fight against COVID-19. What started as an initiative to engage numerous unattached young people enrolled in the Housing, Opportunity, Production and Employment HOPE program has begun to bring hope to countless Jamaicans. The team of approximately 25 HOPE trainees, 10 instructors, and numerous volunteers is tasked with the daily target of producing 1,000 reusable fabric masks that will be supplied to some of the less fortunate among us.
The masks are made and supplied. We try to get them to the most vulnerable groups. So we send them to infirmaries, to children's homes. We send them to other social workers groups that are out there working in the communities as we speak. We have provided these masks to the Ministry of Health, social teams that are deployed. But there is also a number of corporate entities who have come to us because they're on the front line. Food service, for instance. As you may be aware, Island Grill was one of our biggest supporters and encouraging us to do more and get more of these masks out, and they were the first ones to come on board.
Colonel Rickman, through his ingenuity, started the manufacture and design of the HOPE mask, and we naturally turned to him because of the ongoing partnership that we had. And this is our way of saying thank you. So we have brought our team down to, go ahead and feed the interns and anybody else who might have been participants in producing these things for us.
I hope it's an example for others to follow suit. I invite other entities to come on board with us, donate some masks. There are entities now who are buying masks and allowing us simply to give it away.
Each mask is sold at a cost of $350 and are done to exact specifications.
We reach out to the Bureau of Standards as well as the Ministry of Health to look at various materials, look at various makeup and the design of the mask. And I'm happy to say that these masks that are made by HOPE, they're made with material that are already water repellent or moisture repellent, but it's made with a level of comfort. It's in 3 layers so that it significantly reduces the possibility. So it's not a guarantee, but it significantly reduces the possibility of moisture and vapor to enter into the system. Or for those who may have the virus, if everybody's wearing it, it will protect them from passing it on as well. All of these masks are made in the Jamaican colors, as you can see. And they're made because we wanted to inspire a sense of, that we as Jamaicans, we're all in this thing together. The masks are made by these young persons who would otherwise have been doing nothing at home. So they're earning a bit of a stipend whilst they're making these masks. They're doing something good for the country. They're in their own way, they're contributing, they're giving their own service back by contributing, making masks, albeit for a small stipend.
Starting a program changed me. Right now, I want to become the best fashion designer there is, if there's such thing. And I'm just here working to the best of my ability to gain more experience and strengthen my skills and just let it take place from there.
The stipend is the starter for me. So the stipend basically started me. So now I own my own business, and the business name is For Your Glory Design. And now I can fetch for my family and myself.
I'm more confident in sewing than before because I can do a lot more than I could do before, like pattern making, jacket suits. I'm actually making masks in my community also. I'm selling them in my own community. Yeah. So fashion is a good thing for me, and O did a lot. It's just me, did a lot for me.
Domestic violence, like COVID-19, has been an irksome reality among us for too long. But like COVID-19, domestic violence is avoidable. And even where it takes place, the police are there to help provide protection and ensure that perpetrators are held accountable.
All that is an actual story, a story all too familiar. And well, that's a part of my story. Growing up, I've seen my father flip over the simplest of things. He would basically change from an angel to a devil in a flash. I remember this instance. My mom told me that she was coming home from work one evening because she worked very close to where he lived. She was coming home from work, and usually when you're leaving work, it's a lot of persons leaving at the same time, and she was talking to one of her co-workers and she smiled at him. He smiled back, and my father saw that, and when she went home, he was ready for her. He was like, "Oh, see, I smile at my pan the road, you smile at my pan the road." He beat her, he stripped her naked, and he chased her in front of the yard so all her co-workers could see. So all her co-workers could see her.
Domestic abuse or domestic violence is not just physical abuse. The physical abuse basically for us is the end product coming from somewhere else. So you have stalking, you have intimidation, you have threat, you have psychological abuse, the ones that I'll tell you, I play on your emotions as to what I can do.
It was known to everybody that this was the type of person she was dating. This was the type of man he was. Even the security at the gate, the manager, everyone. So it's not like her life was a secret. If she could not have any friends. He was the only person she could talk to, go anywhere with. If someone even talked to her and she not acknowledging them, she would get beaten for that. The least good thing, he would flip on her.
Usually, persons who are perpetrators of domestic violence are usually men, and usually they are persons who were controlling over their intimate partners. They tend to have a high level of jealousy, and they tend to be very possessive. And as such, you find that they will have a pattern of behavior where they will always check where the partner is by various means, whether by calling the person, ask the person where they are, also want to know who are they communicating with. So are they communicating persons on email, WhatsApp, other social media platform? They also want to make sure that they know where they are at all times and that they're not interacting with other persons outside, so they tend to want to have them stay home, for example, and lose connection with their families and friends.
A lot of persons knew that my mom was being abused. But the type of man that my father was, everyone was afraid of him. My neighbor was afraid of him. His neighbor was afraid of him. It's like anyone who came into contact with him would get hurt because he's not a simple person. I'm not sure if it's because of his build. He's really fit, he's really tall, muscular, so he's not afraid.
As community members, we have a moral responsibility that within our homes and within our communities, once we are aware that there are instances of domestic abuse and domestic violence and we seek help, best place to go? To the police. Ask the police to intervene. Intervention can be that the police directs the victim to a counseling center, because we have partnership with churches, right? We have partnership with other organizations, Justices of the Peace, counselors.
Every time she escaped him, he would either stalk her, chase her, go to her either friend's house, wherever she went, friend's house, mother's house, cousin's house, no matter where she went, he would find her, go for her with a gun, knife, machete, whatever it may be, and she would always have to go back with him. No one, no matter how much they tried to fight and help her, he would always get her back. And when she goes back with him, the beating got worse, the abuse got worse, the rape got worse, everything got worse.
Have an escape plan. Your escape plan cannot be where the perpetrator knows that you're going over to your mother's house because he's aware of where your mother lives. The escape plan cannot be, I'm going to go stay by my friend because he knows where your friends are. If it's a life-threatening abuse, that's where you go to the courts to seek a protection order or an occupation order or both.
I would say maybe around primary school. I'm not sure the exact age. I was told that there was a restraining order for me and between me and my father. He should not be about, I'm not sure how much feet from me. He is not allowed to be near me at all. At this time I was living with my grandmother because my mom got full custody now. They had went through court and everything and fought her way, so there was no more hiding from him. He knew where I was living now because she got custody and he had to basically step away.
The protection order will say you are not to be seen, you are to remove one party is to leave the household because of the volatility of the situation. The court may say, look here, one party must leave the household and reside elsewhere. And a lot of times it's the abuser that the court will say, look, stay somewhere else until the matter is heard. Or you're not to be seen in the workplace of the person.
The abuse that my mom endured, the physical abuse and the verbal abuse that I basically endured from my father, it has caused me to basically lock myself away from people. I'm always by myself, 90% of the time I would say. I'm always by myself. Throughout high school, I've had counseling. I was rebellious because I felt like no one loved me. I struggled in the relationship department, friendship. I have anger issues. I've learned to control it because of counseling. I had this teacher, she helped me throughout high school and university.
Counseling able to revisit what happened, able to process it in a more positive way and more realistic way. So you don't put all the blame on yourself, but you realize that a lot of it wasn't your fault, and then help you now to, having dealt with it, to try to move on. Because a lot of persons, because they don't deal with it, they find it difficult to relate to other persons because of the fact that they're still kind of baggage of what happened to them before.
The Domestic Violence Intervention Centers, one of those facilities that were donated by the U.S. Embassy, and it's a partnership between the JCF and the U.S. Embassy, to create a facility where persons can come and speak about domestic violence and domestic abuse related issues within their home. And so it's a safe space for both victims and perpetrator. And it offers counseling to family members, to victims, also to perpetrators. We have two centers that are currently operational. One is at the Matilda's Corner Police Station. You can call the Matilda's Corner Police Station for that. The other one is at Air 5 headquarters. That's on the same compound as Constant Spring Police Station. The number is 702-5120 or 702-5121.
We also have available mental health and suicide helpline. And this helpline is a 24-hour service, which is toll-free, where a person can call. So it can be either persons calling on behalf of others that they have been exposed to domestic violence. So the helpline is toll free and 888 New Life, which is 888-639-5433. And the 24-hour service, 7 days per week.
If you know someone is being abused, say something, do something.
Living in the time of a global pandemic is not an easy feat. Our minds are sometimes crippled with fear and anxiety as the number of COVID-19 cases rise exponentially, and each day brings its fair share of uncertainty and discomfort. Despite all this, it is important to manage your emotions. Here are 3 easy steps you can take. 1. Don't try to push away your difficult feelings or force yourself to think positively. Remember that all emotions are okay, even the tough ones. Pushing away the difficult feelings is not a healthy coping mechanism, as it denies the reality of your current experience. 2. Find a safe and controlled way to acknowledge and express your difficult emotions. For example, by writing them down in a journal or letter, talking to a friend, getting physical exercise, or practicing yoga or meditation. If your symptoms are severe and interfering with your ability to function, seek medical attention immediately. And 3, pick 1 or 2 sources of information that you trust for news. If social media makes you anxious, angry, or overwhelmed, avoid it by taking a break. There can be numerous negative side effects of regular social media consumption, so consider limiting your scrolling time to 20 minutes or once or twice a day. If you follow these simple guidelines, you are taking the much-needed step to make Jamaica a safer place for yourself and others to live comfortably, work, raise your families, and do business.
Create, design, share, and win prizes with your art in the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management ODPEM Digital Poster Competition. Posters must be titled and themed Hurricane Preparedness. The competition opens August 13 and closes September 4. To enter, you must be a student between 12 and 18 years old. For more information on contest guidelines, visit our social media pages, website, or just give us a call. It's ODPEM's Digital Poster Competition.
And this is the final stop in today's magazine. Thanks so much for journeying with us. As we go, we implore you to stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm, or our YouTube channel. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or our social media pages. On behalf of the entire JIS production crew, I'm Audrey Williams, urging you to remain strong and stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.